Hey guys, it's the Whale. So I did manage to get top four last week with my Traptrix deck that I updated for the September 2024 ban list. As you guys can tell in my channel, I kind of suffered from, meta game burnout. So I did want to take a break and I decided to come back during the new ban list, and I decided to come back to something that I thought was actually could relatively compete and I can enjoy it. And I did fairly well. At the very end of the deck profile, I'll be going over my matches and what I could have done better. So if you just care about the deck image is always going to be down below. This is going to be a long video because I'm going to explain my card choices and some of my ratios that might seem a little awkward to you guys. So let's just get right to it. We are going to obviously start with the 1.5 card starter, Traptrix Myrmilio. Myrmilio, sorry, I'm trying to kind of angle this for you guys in a better way. So Myrmilio is your 1.5 card starter. On normal summon lets you get a trap hole, and then on special summon mandatory pop a spell or trap card on the field. It's one of your big disruption pieces. A lot of back row this format, hitting Fire King Snake Eye Islands and equips from Fiendsmiths is really, really good. So we are obviously also playing the 3 Mantis. So I'm going over the starters of the deck, the monsters you want to see in your opening hand. 3 Mantis. Mantis is your Rhoda of the deck. Essentially lets you get your Traptrix monsters. Myrmilio lets you get your trap hole cards. So 3 Mantis, really, really good. Again, you usually want to see Mantis, or you want to see Myrmilio, or you want to see 3 Pudica. Pudica lets you get the field spell, which then allows you to keep extending on your plays, as well as have battle protection for your Traptrix monsters. And then on special summon, Pudica can target one monster your opponent controls that was special summoned, banish it, and during the next standby phase, you can special summon. Your opponent can special summon any monster from their banish zone. Be wise on what you banish and what is in your opponent's banish zones. But this is an extreme part for the disruption of the deck. I really like this deck because not only does it rely on monster disruption, it also relies on spell and trap card disruptions, which I think is a really, really nice combination. And yeah, I would say the cards that you usually want to see first are probably Myrmilio, then Pudica, then Mantis, because the field spell is just really, really good with Pudica. And any other Traptrix that you have in your hand, right? So for the rest of the Traptrix, we're running the 2 Dionea. All of this I feel is pretty standard. Not very much I need to talk about too much, but the 2 Dionea on normal summon lets you target a Traptrix monster in your graveyard, special summon and defense position. This allows you to reuse effects like Myrmilio's. These are not once per turn effects. Pudica is a once per turn effect, but still you can use it on your turn in terms of the banishing effect to go for a big OTK swing or a big damage swing. And then when Dionea is special summoned, you can target a trap in your graveyard, set it, but banish it during the next end phase. So you technically always special summon one out from your deck, allowing you to use that second effect. But you always want to either search the other one to your hand or have the other one in deck to search it later to extend your plays during your turn. Okay, so I think 2 is the magic number, and I am also running the 2 Arachnocampa. Arachnocampa during the main phase, it states that you can quick effect special summon this card from your hand if you control a Traptrix monster, and then once if your spell and trap cards would be destroyed by a card effect, they are not destroyed. So it's back row protection against Harpy's Feather, against lightning storms. You know a good Traptrix player from a bad Traptrix player when you use this card to extend too much. This deck does really great into making you feel safe against stuff like Nibiru and hand traps because of Rafflesia. You can make it under 5 summons, but I highly recommend to search the Arachnocampa. I usually find myself searching Arachnocampa instead of Dionea, so that during my opponent's turn, if they're playing a going second deck or I'm going first in a game 2, they probably have back row hate, right? They probably have Harpy's Feather, Lightning Storms. So Traptrix Arachnocampa has saved me from being lightning stormed and has won me about 2 of my matches at my local setting. So it's just really, really good just to have. There's the other card as well, Traptrix Vesiculo. If you guys are asking why I do not run Traptrix Vesiculo, is because I think that it's just it does what Arachnocampa does, but I just feel like Arachnocampa does it better. Yes, Arachnocampa locks you into plants and insects, but that's the strongest part of your extra deck anyway. So I don't really see that big of a negative, and it worked out for me. So give it a try. For the spells, we are running the one Traptrix Garden. This is what you search off of Pudica. It lets you, during your turn, normal summon an additional Traptrix monster from your hand, in addition to your normal summon. And then you can banish a monster you control to special summon a Traptrix from your hand or graveyard. Again, to reutilize your Pudicas, to reutilize your Myrmilios. You can go for about 3 to 4 Myrmilio spell and trap card pops a turn if you have enough setup. And again, it's battle protection for your Traptrix. So the first time that they would be destroyed by battle, they're not, which is really, really good. For the traps, we are running, obviously, the 3 Traptrix Trap Hole Knight. I'm sorry, listen to me. The 3 Traptrix Holatea. Holatea lets you set activated the turn that it's set by discarding a normal trap from your hand. So this allows you to trigger Sarah, and it's another level 4, so that you can go into your rank 4 toolbox. This is almost like a rank 4 toolboxy deck, right? Not only that, in the graveyard, it has an additional effect that you can banish this card for cost, target a Traptrix monster in your graveyard, special summon it. If you guys haven't gotten the gist of the deck, you very much want to keep reutilizing your Traptrix effects that when they're special summoned. Okay, you can banish a monster your opponent controls as a disruption, or you can pop an important spell, field spell like Tenpai during your opponent's turn, and they only have one of those. So extremely, extremely important card. You usually want this as a material that you can then detach, so that you can reuse it during your opponent's turn. Extremely, extremely important card. Arguably the best trap hole in the deck. 2 Gravediggers Trap Holes. So this card has been probably the best hole trap for about 2 years now, since the release of the structure deck, maybe a little bit longer than that. This card basically states that you can, when your opponent activates a monster effect either in the hand or graveyard or banished, I believe, you can negate that effect and your opponent loses 2,000 life points. This is what allows you to play around hand traps like Nibiru's, and it allows you to really stop key plays in the graveyard, like, let's just say, Flamberge or Poplars, Engravers, that sort of scenarios, right? So it's extremely, extremely important a card for you. You can even argue running it at 3. I've thought about it, but I kind of like the diversity, and I think 2 is more than enough to set one off of Sarah and have the other one in deck so that I can send it off for Flasia. And usually that's pretty game winning. Not only that, it burns your opponent for 2,000 life points. This deck, you're going to find, if you play it a lot, that it can deal very big amounts of damage with Adipus. So that is extremely, extremely important. Not only that, you can also reset your holes with Diana. So don't be scared that oh my god, I only have 2, I have to use them wisely. You can keep reusing them from the graveyard as well. For the rest of the traps, we are running the 1 trap hole, Floodgate Trap Hole. This card honestly has fallen out of favor a lot. It was extremely broken during the Kashtira format, where a lot of monsters needed to, be on the field to XYZ summon or synchro summon. Nowadays, like, you can pop set cards, like set spell and trap set monster cards. So Floodgate really isn't always the best, but it's still there. I like the diversity of it. If you were to cut a trap hole, I would highly recommend cutting Floodgate Trap Hole. I just don't think it's the format for it, but it's very matchup dependent, so I just like to have it there. The 1 terrifying Trap Hole Nightmare. I'm sorry, not the terrifying. Traptrix Trap Hole Nightmare. Excuse me. So this one states that when your opponent special summons a monster, if your opponent special summon monster, activates its effect, you can negate that effect, and if you do, destroy it. So it's really, really good. It's a negate and a destroy. You can utilize it off of Rafflesia a lot. It's another source of interruption. It's a really good card, and especially to kind of keep recycling. It's really, really good. The cards that I usually tend to recycle the most, number 1 being Gravediggers Trap Hole. Excuse me, guys. It's been a long day. Gravediggers Trap Hole. Obviously, this card's busted. And then the second one being Traptrix Trap Hole Nightmare. That is 4 trap holes in the deck. A lot of people play around with the numbers. Some play 3, some play 4. I am testing out 5. The deck is at currently 41. if you do not like the 41 count, by all means, there's cards that are completely cuttable. You can cut this card off, the Floodgate Trap Hole, or some other cards that I can show you in once we keep going through the rest of the deck profile. But I do want to talk about Terrifying Trap Hole Nightmare. So this card I have severely underestimated. Severely. Every time I used to see a Traptrix deck top, they included this card. And I never understood why. Let me read you guys the effect. It states, if your opponent has a special summon monster that they summon this turn, you can target a monster with a special summon monster with 2,000 or more attack that your opponent controls, destroy it. And then if you have a normal trap in your graveyard, you can banish one monster in your opponent's graveyard. So this was seen play a lot with Branded because it made Mirror Jade not destroy during the end phase. But I forget something. This is 2 disruptions in 1 card. This is a destruction on the field, and this is a banish in the graveyard if you have another normal trap hole, which you probably will. This card also, you can use it off of Rafflesia whenever you want. It's not something that needs to that a condition needs to be met, like it needs to be summoned or it needs to be special summoned. No, like you can use it whenever you want. This card is fantastic just for the fact that it manipulates the graveyard. I used this card against my Rescue Ace. They summoned Flanberge, I popped it, and then I banished it, and they could not reborn anything, and they didn't have anything. I can also use it to banish their single Ash, their single Poplar. Really, really good card, and I severely underestimate it. If you guys are not running this card in Traptrix, I highly recommend you guys give it a try. That is it for the Traptrix core. So that is 22 cards, and the rest I consider flex spots, right? Player preference that can change from locals to regionals to places, right? So let's go in. So for extenders, I am running the 3 Parallel Exceeds. I am still on Parallel Exceeds. I think Parallel Exceeds is a fantastic card, better than Shade Brigandine. Every time I hear the argument of Parallel Exceed versus Shade Brigandine, I'm just never sold on it. Parallel Exceed is still better, even if it eats an Ash. It's still better because you have a level 4 on the board that you can probably just go into an XYZ. Maybe it doesn't let you extend as much as you like, but you can probably still extend. I just think that the card is really, really good. Like I said, way better than Shade Brigandine, in my humble opinion. Again, that's all that it is, though. It's an opinion. So by all means, to each their own, but Parallel Exceed to me is a mandatory stay in Traptrix. And every time I've seen it, I'm in a very, very comfortable spot. Going second, if you win game 1, or anytime that you go second, I highly recommend citing this card out for either more hand traps, board breakers, whatever you guys want. But I think going first, this card is extremely, extremely good. For the rest of the fluff, as I like to call it, the 1 Pot of Prosperity, it's about time it got hit, to be honest. This deck never really, this deck utilized Pot of Prosperity to kind of dig for stuff, but it was never truly needed. So the same concept here. You're trying to dig for your Parallel Exceeds, for your board breakers, for your starters, right? Because the games that you lose are the games that you don't see a Traptrix, right? You really at least want to see 1 Traptrix name, right? So and if you do have it, you want to see your extenders, so why not? The 1 Pot of Prosperity doesn't hurt. For the rest of the deck, we are running 3 Evenly Matched. I also wanted to play a deck that ran Evenly Matched. I mean, it's my favorite card, honestly. But with all the negate cards basically getting neutered, Evenly Matched has just gotten so good. Traptrix does not do well going second, and that is why we have cards like Evenly Matched. That is why we have cards like Hand Traps, right? So 3 Evenly Matched. Every time I saw it, I used it going second. Every single time. Not a single deck could outplay the Evenly Matched, and I won. Again, I'll talk about it at the end of the video. Now, for the Hand Traps, you can consider Impermanence a mandatory Traptrix card because it does everything you want in Traptrix, and it's a trap card, which is fantastic, right? It's a trap card that triggers Sarah. So yeah, it's still a hand trap. You can still technically consider it a flex spot if you want, but Imperm does what the deck wants, and it's a trap. So why not include it, right? 3 Ash Blossoms, so that is a total of 6 hand traps, and then 3 Droll and Lockbird, that is a total of 9 hand traps so far. The reason why I went for Droll and as well as for the Nibirus is because I like floodgatey hand traps. As you can tell, I'm not running Veiler. By all means, in your locals, if you see a lot of effects that you need to negate, use Veilers. You know, you can, that way you have the 3 Imperms and the 3 Veilers. I tried to get Dominus Purge. For those of you guys that don't know, it's basically an Ash Blossom, but in trap form. But no one in my locals had it. So if you guys want, I've also been testing that card out. It's not that bad. So 3 Drolls locks the game a lot of the time. A lot of decks are searching Fiendsmith, Snake Eyes, even, you know, Fire Kings. You know, they're searching a lot. I used this on Rescue Ace and they just passed. All the times I saw it, I won. So that right there is a total of 40 cards. Oh, I'm sorry. And the Nibirus, obviously, only 2 Nibirus. Where's the third one, you might be asking? Actually, for the third one, I wanted to try out. This is my 41st card, my 41 card. The Black Goat Laughs. This is a great discard off of Holtea when I saw it. And I never saw it, by the way, but this is a great discard when I would... in theory, when you would see it off of Holtea, you can discard it. It's a normal trap and utilize its effect negation from the graveyard. So it's pretty good. If you guys don't want to run a random one of like me, you could totally put the third Nibiru, or you can just cut it all together and make it a flat 40. That is it for my main deck. That is a total of 41 cards. Hopefully I did a very good job at explaining my ratios and why I chose certain cards over the others. Let's go over the extra deck. The extra deck is probably the least special of the entire deck. We're obviously playing the 3 Traptrix Sarah. Yes, 3 is mandatory. I go probably through 2 of them a lot of the times, and one of them is either prosperity fodder or it's just there because I'm like, oh, okay, thank God, I still have 1, right? Sarah just does so much for the deck. When you activate first of all, it's not affected by trap effects. Okay, that's number 1. Number 2, if you were to activate if a normal trap is activated in general, right? An imperm on your opponent's side or on your side or whatever, you can special summon a Traptrix monster from your deck, right? So that's the Ashable ability. And then if you activate a Traptrix monster's effect, you can set a trap hole from your deck to the field. That is your way of basically double Gravediggering them, utilizing the 1 Rafflesia Gravedigger and then the Gravedigger that you set off of Sarah. And that tends to win games, I've been told a lot. The 1 Adipus, it's your OTK tool. If you have a normal trap in your graveyard, you essentially, all your Traptrix monster gain 1,000 attack. So this is really good card to OTK. For the XYZs, we are running the 2 Traptrix Pinguicula. This is, again, your Rhoda, allows you to add a Traptrix monster, but it's also not affected by trap effects, extremely important. Okay, so you don't have to be scared of, like, I don't know, Imperm or random Torrential Tributes or random blah, 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 right? It's not affected. Also, if a monster that your opponent controls, right, in your opponent's control is sent to the graveyard via card effect, you can just suck that monster right up. And this card is unaffected by monsters of the types that are used for its XYZ materials, right? So if you have a random fiend attached to it, this card is unaffected not only by traps, not only by, let's just say, insects or plants, but also by fiends effect. So it's extremely, extremely good, and I did utilize that effect quite a lot. My favorite Traptrix monster, Holtea. I'm sorry, Holtea. My Rafflesia. This card is fantastic. It's the way you play around Nibiru. It gives you a lot of protection from your Traptrix monsters. They're not allowed to be targeted or destroyed by battle except Traptrix Rafflesia, and it utilizes the trap hole cards in your deck for costs. It's really, really good. I just think you only ever need 1. I do like 2 though. I do like 2, and I'm not even going to lie to you. Why? Because you can do a combo where you set up Sarah and double Rafflesia, and the effect of Rafflesia is not a hard once per turn. It's a 1 per turn per copy, so you can technically really thin out your deck, and it's extremely annoying for your opponents. But right now I'm just testing the 1. And the 1 Alamaris, again, this is extremely, extremely good. It allows you OTK. It allows you to reutilize Myrmilios. There's also a combo where you can steal monsters. It's really, really, really good. For the rest of the toolboxy decks, probably the Honorary Traptrix is the one-time Thief Reader, extremely really good. Put Holtea under it, and now you have a non-targeting removal for your opponent. Abyss Dweller. People tend to forget that this card is crazy during tier format. Ladies and gentlemen, did you guys not want this card banned? This card is still busted. If I go first and I know what I'm playing against, I will always go into Abyss Dweller more than Rafflesia or Redoer, because that guarantees me another turn. Even if they evenly me or something, right? The one Baguska, never went into it, but it's there. I think that every rank 4 deck should utilize it. The one Spicy Gagaga Cowboy. Technically, you don't need it because you're already winning time with Gravedigger's Trap Hole, but I have cut it close where Gravedigger's Trap Hole was not going to work, and I've utilized Cowboy for the 800 burn, and it's let me win. I didn't utilize this in this locals, but it does come up every now and then. I didn't really know what to fit into it, and I didn't want the artifact package. Instead, I wanted like kind of like a semi board breaker stuff, so I just went through Super Poly, which is in the side deck. We are running the one Mud Dragon, the one Garura, and the one Predaplant Dragostapelio because it's the most generic of the generics. That is it for the extra deck. Let's go through the side deck. So for the side deck, I feel like that's where like Yuga players shine with their knowledge when they like they have a good side pattern and they side properly, etc., etc. So we're running the 3 shifter. So I do not like this card in the main. There's 2 different versions of Traptrix. There's cards that there's a Traptrix version that do not run this card in the main, like mine, and there's another version that do run Traptrix with Shifter and Shade Brigadine instead of Parallel Xyz. Shifter is okay. It still affects you. It still annoys you. It annoys you a lot more than you would think, right? So you usually side this in when you're going second. So you Shifter them, they hopefully pass, right? And then you're able to set up your board. You will not be able to go for an OTK that turn because Adipus requires a trap in the graveyard, but you're able to set up enough that you're hopefully able to play and the turn keeps going. So yeah, I think that that's pretty okay if you see it. So for more board breakers like evenly, we're also running the 3 super polys. Again, this is for your extra deck. This deck has a really hard time going second. Dark Ruler No More doesn't work in this deck because you don't really have a good way of removing cards of monsters from the board. So I just think Super Poly is fine, and people really are not expecting it at the moment. For the rest, we're running the 3-dimensional barrier. This card's also really good just because it's a normal trap. You can discard it off Hotea, though I will never do that if I'm siding it in, right? You call whatever card type, and yeah, you just sit pretty probably for an extra turn, right? You live. 3 Solemn Judgment. This is your anti-evenly, though it's not that big a deal if you get evenly because you just keep your Sarah and then you can still plus off Sarah and your opponent doesn't have a battle phase, so you know you're going to live. And my tech is 3 Power Sync Stones. So this card actually won me a lot of game 3s, right? Because I played it in the game 3s and the game 2s, excuse me, as well. So this card states that each time a monster effect is activated, place 1 spell's counter on this card, max 2. While this card has 2 spell counters, neither player can activate the effects of face-up monsters on the field. Also, their face-up monsters on the field are negated. And then during the end phase, you remove the 2 spell counters, so it resets. So why did I want to utilize this? Number 1, going first, Sarah is unaffected by trap cards. Rafflesia is unaffected by trap effects, and Pinkwicula is unaffected by trap effects. All your Traptrix extra deck monsters are unaffected by trap effects. This does not hurt you at all. This is basically a skill drain that does not affect you. So why not? It's really good, right? If I'm going first, why not just take away the evenlies and put in the Power Sync Stones? And let me tell you, it worked. It worked quite a bit. This card is extremely phenomenal. A really, really good card. So let's go over my matches. That is it for the deck. For my matches, round 1, I went against Tenpai. Honestly, very depressing what they did to them in the ban list. That was a win. I went 2-1. I went first. Obviously, I set up. He activated field spell. I'm like, oh, Tenpai, Murmurlo effect to special summon and pop. And there I was able to interact with his board. He just kind of scooped it up. Game 2, I went first. I saw a handful of traps, so that wasn't going to be enough. And he managed to top deck the Harpies. And I could not do everything. I didn't even let him go into battle phase. I was like, all right, next game. And then game 3, Power Sink Stone and Power Sink Stone and Vermelio is just kind of Power Sink Stone and what is this? Dimensional Barrier. I opened them with a Traptrix monster in hand, a Mantis in hand, and I was like, yep, that's GG's no matter what you have. And that is true. He drew a hand full of engine. So, game 2, I played against Eldritch Stun. I 2-0'd that matchup. I 2-0'd that matchup. And I'm not going to go too deep into that matchup, and the only reason why is because our monsters are unaffected by trap effects. And Eldritch Stun is a deck of 30 plus traps. I was fine. Round 3 was against Salad. Salad was my only loss for the night. So Salaman great. I went first. I won. Going second, he set up. He set up the counter trap and everything like that, so my evenly didn't do anything, and that was the only board breaker that I saw. But it was already too set up. He had Princess in graveyard. It was very difficult for me. And game 3, I played very well, but he opened up the Dark Really No More and pick apart my board. So by the time I basically drew for turn, I had nothing. And yeah, so that was my one loss for the day. And then my round 4 was against Rescue Ace Snake Eye Fiendsmith. I 2-0'd him. So game 1, I went first. I won a lot of die rolls, as you guys can tell. I basically set up my 2. I knew he was on Fiendsmith, so I set up my 2 Gravediggers play with Rafflesia, and then I searched out a Gravediggers with Sarah. I set it, and he couldn't do anything. Those were already 2 cards off his hand, and by the time he went in, he had 3 cards because I negated his 2 cards in his hand, and then I had enough interaction with my normal trap. I had an Imperm, and I had Holtea in the graveyard with a Putka. So yeah, that was easy. And then game 2, like I said, I won. He did his Rescue Ace play. I didn't open up a single hand trap, but I opened up... No, I'm sorry. I did open up a hand trap. I opened up Droll, and I opened up Evenly. So he tried searching. I drolled him, and he ended on a very subpar board. My turn, main phase 1, battle phase, Evenly, banished all his cards, and I proceeded to set up myself. And yeah, that was the match. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys very much for sticking around. If you guys have any questions, please, comment down below, leave a like and a comment. And this has been The Whale. Catch you guys later.